Two people take the same fish oil supplement, the same dose for the same 5 months. One sees their blood omega-3 levels climb sharply, the other barely moves. Same capsule, same compliance, completely different result. Why? Part of the answer may be written in their DNA. This is the science of nutrigenetics, how your genes shape the way your body handles the fats it depends on. The research asks two distinct questions. First, how much do your genes determine your baseline levels of the key fatty acids before any supplement? And second, how much do your genes determine your response once you do supplement? The answers, it turns out, are very different, and one of them is still largely unsolved. Three fatty acids matter most here: EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, are the long-chain omega-3s. You get them mainly straight from the diet, seafood and fish oil. They're precursors to signaling molecules that influence heart health, mood, and more. Then there's arachidonic acid, or AA, the principal long-chain omega-6. Unlike EPA and DHA, AA isn't something you eat much of directly. Your body builds it internally, converting it from the plant-derived fat linoleic acid. That difference, eaten versus built, turns out to be the key to the whole story. Picture your cells as a factory. Linoleic acid enters the line and, through a series of enzymes, the desaturases FADS1 and FADS2, and the elongases, is converted step by step into arachidonic acid. The plant omega-3, alpha-linolenic acid, runs a parallel line toward EPA and eventually DHA. Here's the catch. Because AA is built almost entirely on this internal line, the genes encoding those enzymes have a strong say in how much AA you end up with. But EPA and DHA can bypass the line completely. You absorb them directly from food. So the same genes have far less to say about your omega-3 levels. Consider how much these levels vary between people before any supplement. Measured in red blood cell membranes, the population variability is striking. For EPA, around 78%. For DHA, about 31%. And for AA, just 10%. Arachidonic acid is held in a tight, narrow range. EPA swings wildly. That tight control of AA is the fingerprint of genetic regulation, and it is exactly what the studies confirm. Across study after study in very different populations, the same pattern appears. Genetic variants are strongly linked to arachidonic acid and barely linked to EPA and DHA. In the Framingham Heart Study, researchers scanned over 2.5 million genetic markers in more than 2,600 adults. They found 82 markers tied to AA, explaining about 13% of its variability. For EPA and DHA, virtually none. The Verona Heart Project found the same: a strong relationship for AA, no association for the omega-3s. A study of over 1,500 adults in China found a single FADS variant that raised AA by 57%, while leaving DHA unchanged. Even in pregnant women and in infants, the genetic signal for EPA and DHA stayed small. Heart disease patients, healthy adults, infants, pregnant women, the conclusion held. Your genes govern arachidonic acid. They leave your baseline omega-3s largely alone. So the first question, baseline, has a reasonably clear answer. The second one does not. Return to those two people taking fish oil. In one careful trial, 115 volunteers took up to 1,800 milligrams of EPA and DHA a day for 5 months. The average response followed the dose, but the spread within each group was enormous. In the highest dose group, the change in the omega-3 index ranged from 0.5% to 7%, a 14-fold difference on an identical dose. It wasn't compliance, that was 97%. Something biological is driving it. But what? The genetics of the supplement response is still in its infancy. A few variants in genes like FADS and ELOVL2 hint at an effect, but the evidence is thin and inconsistent. Right now, science cannot reliably predict who will respond to fish oil and who won't. This gap matters. Today, omega-3 recommendations are one size fits all. But if two people can differ 14-fold in their response, a single blanket dose can't serve everyone. As researchers decode the genetics of fatty acid metabolism, nutrition can move towards something more precise, doses matched to your biology, guided by a measurement like the omega-3 index rather than guesswork. Better targeting could sharpen the role of omega-3s in protecting against cardiovascular disease. The study of how genes shape our fatty acids is young. Strong answers for omega-6, open questions for omega-3. But the direction is clear. The future of nutrition is not the same advice for everyone. It is nutrition matched to your own genetic blueprint. How will your diet and your medicine change once it is written for your DNA?